Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnu Paramahansa Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Radhakun Shamakun Giri Govardhan Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Radha Govardhan Dari Ki, Gaura Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 8. Itan me prachata savam Savagyan Sakaleshvara Vijanihi yatai vedam Aham buddhaye nusasitaha Itan me prachata savam Savagyan Sakaleshvara Vajanehi yatai vedam Aham buddhye nusasitaha Itan me prachataha savam Savagya Sakaleshvara Vajanehi yata vedam Aham buddhaye nusasitaha. Translation. My dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me, so that I may be able to understand it as your student. To repeat, my dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me, so that I may be able to understand it as your student. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki. The inquiries made by Narada Muni are very important for everyone concerned. And as such, Narada requested Brahmaji to deem them suitable so that all others may come in the line of disciplic succession of Brahma Sampradaya may also know them properly without any difficulty. So first of all, I'd like to request the blessings of the senior Vaishnavas, that I may be able to say something of value. Also like to offer my respectful obeisances onto Srila Prabhupada for giving me the most amazing life. And also to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, who's a big inspiration to me. I also like to offer my obeisances to all the Vaishnavas around the world for walking the path of Krishna Bhakti. So I'm a simple guy, so my class is going to be quite simple. Today I'm going to be talking about inquiring, which Narada Muni is doing right now. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.34, it says, inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. And we see within the Vedas so many great personalities inquiring, from Parikshit Maharaj. We have Ratnakara. We've done a play about Ratnakara last year, and he inquired to Narada Muni. He was a very wicked man. He had lost his way, and he came in contact with Narada Muni, and through coming in contact with such an exalted personality and getting some great instruction, that instruction purified him in the end. Narada Muni instructed him to chant Mara, which is Rama backwards. And after doing that for many, many years, he was eventually purified. He didn't know whether he was saying Rama or Mara. So in the end, he was just saying Rama, 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 after saying Mara for so long. And also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Lord Chaitanya who's inquiring from Ramananda Roy. So we have the Lord himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani inquiring from a great devotee, Ramananda Roy. At the beginning of my spiritual life, I was inquiring, but my inquiring was a bit different. I was inquiring through Google Maharaj, which is a very famous Maharaj these days. He's probably the most popular. Not only is he a famous Maharaj, but he's also probably the world's famous doctor. So yeah, at the beginning of my spiritual life, coming into Krishna consciousness, I had a dream about the Bhagavad Gita, the yellow book which we give out on the streets. And 2 weeks later, I was walking down the streets of Byron Bay, and I seen Charanaravinda with that book. But before I met Charanaravinda with that book, I was Googling about the Bhagavad Gita and Googling about Krishna consciousness. But you can only get so much from Google. It's not until you meet someone who's actually walking the walk of this Krishna consciousness which really makes the difference. Yeah, so after inquiring through Google Maharaj, I was lucky enough to meet an actual devotee and get the Bhagavad Gita, which really helped me along the road of my inquiring. Without inquiring in this material world, we tend to get left behind in this material world. There's so much pain and suffering. I've seen it my whole life. We just get people walking around having no idea what they're doing, where they are, what's going on. They're just going with the flow in life. And it's not until one inquires that they're able to operate on a much higher level, a spiritual level. So many lifetimes we're just walking around like poor beggars, trying to get a little bit of enjoyment here, a little bit of pleasure here. But it's not until we finally get some proper information, some real information, we inquire from the real source, so we're able to operate on higher levels of consciousness. So we need to inquire about the absolute truth. If we don't, we get caught in this cycle of birth and death. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita 2.4.4 that samadhi means fixed mind, is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyments and are bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. It is in this inquiring that leads one to truth and away from material entanglement. Truth is found within these Vedic literatures, which we're reading today, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the cream, which is a bona fide source, and within the ones who are living these teachings. And we have so many false teachings out there today leading people down all the wrong tracks, all the wrong paths, and causing more suffering within this world. But if one's fortunate enough to come within these bona fide scriptures and come into contact with ones living these teachings, it can really change one's life. So it is inquiring on these transcendental topics that one's eyes are opened. It's hard to see truth when our eyes are covered over. It's hard to walk the path when our vision is blurred. In the world today, most people are like a fish within a tank. The fish thinks, this is my world, there's nothing outside of this world. Here I am, I'm the king of this place right here. I have a beautiful plastic pink castle, which I live in. I have a beautiful little fish girlfriend over here. I have all these nice pebbles, they're all shining. I think one of them may be silver. But that's limited knowledge. That's all that fish knows. But there's so much more going on outside of that fish bowl. And that's like us within the material world. We have limited knowledge, and we're so immersed in our material dealings here within the material world. We are insignificant within the universal setup, just like the fish in the tank. Poor on knowledge, thinking that my knowledge is the right knowledge. This land's my land. These people are my people. This body is mine, and so on. But if we really look deep into all of this, that's the main reason for most of the suffering in today's world. We have so many people fighting over land. We have so many people fighting over colour. We have people attacking people for their sexuality. But this is just all on the bodily platform, and it's a very limited, limited knowledge. The scriptures teach us different. This is not ours. We have poor knowledge, and we are not this body. If we don't inquire, we are no better than that fish in the tank. When we inquire, we learn that we are not the body. It says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, Dihi nosmin yatadihi kumaram yuvaram jara tatadiya antala prapate diras tataram namuyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. So here we learn that we're not the body within these Vedic scriptures. We have 4 defects. Does anyone have the 4 defects of conditional life?
Capacity to cheat.
Yeah.
Subject to lose.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
One more. Yeah. We're under the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion and ignorance, and happiness and distress is coming our way whether we like it or not. In the CC, it is said that the conclusion of all revealed scriptures is to awaken the dormant love of Godhead within our heart. But we're so caught up within our worldly problems that we tend to not even hear about this, or we just push this to the side. You know, there's so much going on in today's world with, whether it's, 5G, we have the coronavirus, conspiracy theories. But at the end of the day, all this stuff can pull one away from the absolute truth. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, he said once that the only problem within this world is a lack of Krishna consciousness. And all these problems will fade away if everyone was Krishna consciousness. But people can't become Krishna consciousness if they don't have the right knowledge and if they don't inquire. So this inquiring is the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness. If people take the time and effort just to inquire, the whole life can change, and a lot of the problems in the world will also change. This human form of life is so valuable. We must seek truth and we must know Krishna. In the Isha Upanishad, text 14, it says that one should know Krishna perfectly. One should know perfectly Sri Krishna as well as his transcendental name, form, qualities and pastimes, as well as his temporary material creation with his temporary men, demigods, men and animals. When one knows this, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it, and enters into the eternal kingdom of God to enjoy his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. So here we see that we have to learn about Krishna, we have to know about his qualities, his pastimes and so on. And once again, all this begins with inquiring. Inquiring is the beginning stages. And once we inquire, we start to step towards Krishna. And when we step towards Krishna, Krishna steps towards us. There's a beautiful story I've heard Radhanath Swami say many times. It's from the Srimad Bhagavatam about the love that Krishna has for us. But it's hard to see that love when we're all caught up in our own world, within our own fish tank. And it's about a young cowherd boy. Said this soul achieves perfection. And he awakes within the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. And as he awakes, he looks around and he can see that he's in in the spiritual world. And he looks over and he sees Krishna playing with Balaram. And Krishna looks at him. And that soul who's just attained perfection looks at Krishna. And their feelings and emotions are so strong, they can't contain it anymore. They just start sprinting for each other. So Krishna and his new cowherd boy are running towards each other. They're blissing out. The ecstatic symptoms are rising. Hairs are standing on end. And they embrace. And on that embrace, they both just collapse. The ecstatic symptoms are so much to handle that they just pass out. And Balaram comes up to Krishna and he's fanning him. He's saying these mantras in his ear. And Krishna comes too. The new cowherd boy comes too. And Krishna looks at that cowherd boy and he says, "You left me so long ago, but I never left you. I was always with you. I had to witness you suffer through storms, disease, old age. And sometimes I've seen you enjoy prosperity, wealth, good health and prestige. But in the end, that was always taken away. Always taken away. But then this one life you turned to me. And I know how hard that was for you to do within the material world. But you turned to me. And I've seen that you were ridiculed, criticized. Sometimes you even had to beg. But I was always there with you." And this story encapsulates how much love Krishna has for us living entities here within the material world. But we're so caught up within our own little fish bowls, just worrying about our own little problems, these little problems within the world, these conspiracy theories. But real truth is Krishna. Real truth is Krishna consciousness. This Krishna bhakti is so important. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj would say that there's no time. We can't wait any longer. This Krishna consciousness has to happen now. So we have to be intelligent and we have to inquire and we have to learn about Krishna. Krishna is the supreme truth. Krishna is the cause of all causes, as this chapter is called. And when we turn towards Krishna and we stop reading our newspapers, and we stop getting bewildered by all the rubbish that people are feeding us, we have time for Krishna. And when we've got time for Krishna, we've got time to grow spiritually. And when we've got time to grow spiritually, Krishna will start to walk towards us because we're walking towards him. We take 10 towards Krishna, he takes 100 towards us. But as soon as you start to take those steps towards Krishna, your life just instantly transforms. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said to Srila Prabhupada. He said, not even the Indians and the independents can wait. This Krishna consciousness is so important. It's the top most important thing on this planet, within all the universes. So yeah, Krishna's hand. Once we turn to Krishna, we'll see that Krishna's hands within our lives. Every moment he's there, directing us, helping us, just being with us. And it makes life so much easier when Krishna's in your corner. Krishna's always there, but we just don't know. But when we know, he's really in our corner. And he's there to help us at every moment. I had a moment recently with Krishna being involved in my life, with my grandma passing away recently. And I was going there on a regular basis and I was chanting to my grandma and I was reading the Bhagavad Gita to my grandma. And she'd been listening to Srila Prabhupada for about 6 months. She was like, I'm going to leave my body soon, so I want to go out with a bang. I think this Krishna consciousness thing is the real deal. You guys look really happy. Some of you might have seen my grandma before. She would come up here in the back of the temple, especially at my initiation, like 4 years ago. And she had her hands in the air. Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai. So the plant was seeded. I mean, the seed was planted. Sorry. So yeah, when her time came, she got cancer and she started to listen to Srila Prabhupada. She was wearing a Nishinga around her neck. She was eating prasadam on a regular basis. And when the time came, I was there. I was praying to Krishna. I said, I want to be there on the last day. I want to be there with my grandma. You know, the reason behind that, my grandma's just always really supported me in my life, especially in my spiritual life, so that meant a lot to me. When I first came to spiritual life, most people just stopped talking to me. But my family, they stayed with me, and it really helps in spiritual life when you've got some support in those beginning stages. So Krishna arranged for me to be with her on the last day, and I got to chant with her while she was leaving her body. But I had to come back here just before she left the body, and I was a bit concerned. So I left Ganges water, Tulsi, and a Maha Garland from Krishna here with my mother. And my mother was with her, but my grandma had to go to a facility that night because things got quite bad. And my mum went to the clinic where my grandma was and said she's made arrangements with my grandson Padma that she wants all this done to her. She wants the garland put on her, she wants Tulsi in her mouth, she wants Prabhupada playing, and she wants Ganges water sprinkled on her. And the doctor said to my mum, Padma, is Padma within ISKCON? And my grandma was like, yes. He goes, I'm within ISKCON. I'll sort all this out for her when she leaves the body. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, that doctor rang my mum and said that your mum's just left her body, and everything that she wanted done to her, the arrangements she made with Padma, her grandson, they were all done. So we just see there that Krishna's hands in everything. I was a bit concerned at first because I thought maybe it wasn't going to happen, my lack of faith, but Krishna was there in the end, and helped my grandma in those last moments. So we've got to always remember that within the material world, relationships are very fragile within the material world. A lot of relationships come and go. Everything's like that. Everything's rising. Everything's falling. But Krishna's always there. Krishna's always been there. We've been around this loop many, many times within this material world, but Krishna's always been there with us. So we've got to always remember that and He gives us so much more. When you first come into Krishna consciousness, you think, I'm given so much. Like, is this really worth it? I'm giving up so much of my life. But after a few years, you're like, I didn't really give up anything. Like, we were in Guru Puja yesterday, and it was just so ecstatic. People were jumping through the roof. And we were having breakfast, and we're just like, what's everyone else doing? Like, reading the papers, having their cup of tea, watching the news. This Krishna consciousness is just so lively. There's just so much life within Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada would say, it's perfection of life. So really, it may seem like we're giving up so much, but we get so much more in return. Krishna is just continuously just giving us so much. And it doesn't stop. This Krishna consciousness is like a bottomless ocean of nectar. It just keeps going deeper, deeper and deeper. It's completely boundless. Amrita Duni, right? Amrita Duni, a flowing river of nectar of devotional service. And it just gets better and better. So we have a choice in the material world. You can get washed around within the material ocean of misery, or you can inquire, be submissive, spend some time with the devotees, read these Vedic texts, eat prasadam, chant, dance, and jump out of that ocean into the flowing river of Amrita Duni. So I thought I'd just finish the class on the festival this weekend. So we have an ecstatic festival. Vrindavan Kirtan and Premanjali have been the ones heading it up. So it's going to be a very ecstatic festival. So I just invited everyone to really get involved. when they can come here and chant. There's nothing more blissful than chanting the holy names of Krishna. And there's also so much things going on behind the scenes, so whenever you're free, please feel free to come and help out behind the scenes, especially the kitchen area. It's like this big never-ending machine back there which just keeps clicking over. I'm sure Radha's going to be desperate for help. But this is what Krishna consciousness is all about. You know, chanting the holy names and eating prasadam and service. You know, it's through this service, the behind-the-scenes stuff, where one really gets realization in devotional life. It's through this service that one's heart really gets purified. And it's through this service that we get to associate with devotees, and associating with devotees is absolutely priceless. As Prabhupada said in the letter, he said that devotees are better than kings. So we get to hang out with kings every day. So we're the most fortunate people in the world. So it's a holy name retreat. So I'd just finish with some quotes from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. Krishna is no different than his holy name. Remind everyone of this. So just remind everyone about this. Krishna is no different than his holy name. Always depend on the holy name. Whenever we have any troubles in life, whenever things are getting tough, whenever we feel bewildered by the material nature, we just turn to the holy name. So much is concealed within that holy name. Encourage everyone to chant the holy name. We should always be encouraging everyone to chant the holy name. It's so purifying. When you first come into contact with the holy name, it may sound simple, or it's just like any other name, but it's very, very special, this holy name. It transforms the chanter's heart. It is said that it's like a cloud in the sky, and a raindrop comes out of that cloud. It's transparent, it's pure. And it lands in the dirt, that then turns to mud. But if you were put that through a filtering system, it would then return back to its natural transparent state. So this is what the chanting does to the living entity. We've been contaminated by the material world. We've had so many things shoved towards us. We've been completely bewildered. But it's this holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It completely transforms the chanter's heart and returns it back to its natural state. And never give up glorification of the Lord. Never give up. Always glorify the Lord. So yeah, this Krishna consciousness is really the perfection of life. And if you're new to Krishna consciousness, just inquire. There's so many lovely devotees around here. You can inquire about what's going on here. You can read the books here. You can learn so much more. And your life will never be the same. Hare Krishna. All into you. Is there any comments or corrections? Thank you. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.